Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
Caliph stood in the center of the bustling square, her heart racing as the harsh voices of the council echoed around her. Her vibrant emerald skin contrasted sharply against the cold stone of the pyre looming behind her, a symbol of the society she had betrayed. The gathering crowd, a mass of expectant faces, seemed to pulse with a mixture of excitement and horror. Today they would witness a message, a lesson harshly taught. The weight of the branded mark on her arm, a crude symbol marking her as a sinner, felt like an iron shackle. She had dared to love a human, an alien in his own right, Mateo, the scientist who had come to study her people. The act had been reckless, and now it had cost her everything. Her fate was sealed. She was to be sacrificed to satisfy tradition and quell any seeds of rebellion in the hearts of her people. As her name was called, Calitha's thoughts were interrupted by the roar of the crowd. The council of elders, cloaked in dark robes, peered down from a raised platform. Their voices proclaimed her guilt, weaving tales of her supposed sins and failures. Each word pierced her like daggers, binding her to the pyre, an enduring reminder of her love for Mateo. Then a gust of wind swept through the square, carrying with it whispers of dissent. Caliph scanned the crowd for a familiar face, her heart searching for the warmth she had felt only days before. It was then she spotted him, a man with sun-kissed skin and dark hair, standing defiantly amidst a sea of judgment. Mateo. The sight of him filled Caliph with hope and fear at once. Their eyes met, and in that split second, a silent promise passed between them. He would not let her burn alone. How could he? He'd fought alongside her, shared secrets, and whispered dreams of a life where love knew no boundaries. In a sudden storm of action, Mateo surged forward, pushing through the crowd. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice echoing against the stone walls of the square. "This is wrong." Gasps rippled through the spectators, shock turning to curiosity as Mateo continued to approach the pyre, resolute despite the danger. Calitha's breath hitched. The stakes had just become immeasurably higher. "By what right do you condemn her?" Mateo challenged, his indignant gaze fixed on the elders. "You judge her for loving someone different, for embracing a love that challenges your very foundations." The council's leader, an imposing figure cloaked in shadows, stepped forward. "You, human, have no place here. She is ours to judge, not yours." Mateo's face hardened with determination. "Then you'll have to kill me too." Caliph felt her heart soar at his bravery, yet terror gripped her chest. She had never expected this. "Mateo, no," she pleaded softly, trying to reach him through the chaos. But the crowd was already stirring, a mixture of outrage and support. Others began to whisper, sizing up the human who had dared to challenge their authority. In that moment, chaos erupted. The guards, startled by this sudden uprising, rushed to capture Mateo. He dodged and weaved, his resolve unyielding. And then, before Caliph could fully comprehend, he reached her, strong arms lifting her as if she weighed nothing at all. Without hesitation, Mateo sprinted away from the pyre, evading the guards who yelled for order. The crowd dispersed in confusion, some cheering, others outraged. The sensation of freedom churned inside Caliph as she clung to him, their fates intertwining in this frantic escape. "Hold on tight," Mateo encouraged, glancing back at her with fierce determination. His breath was ragged, but his spirit seemed unbreakable. Caliph pressed her face against his shoulder, overwhelmed by the rush of adrenaline and the weight of what lay ahead. They dashed through narrow alleys, the city's crystalline architecture passing by in a blur. Each turn brought them closer to the unknown, a future where love defied the constraints of society, if only they could evade capture. Heart pounding in her chest, Caliph felt the pounding of their footsteps rhythmically echoing in her ears. Mateo's grip was firm around her waist, his strength radiating warmth far beyond the chaos surrounding them. They turned sharply down an alleyway, the narrow passage bathed in shadows, muffling the sounds of pursuit. "You have to trust me," Mateo said, glancing at her with a fierce intensity. Caliph nodded, her mind racing. She had trusted him before. Trust was what had led her to this moment, and now it was her lifeline. As they dashed deeper into the underbelly of the city, Caliph took in the sights around her, the far-from pristine streets filled with remnants of a once bustling marketplace. The alien architecture loomed overhead, an intricate blend of liquid-shaped forms and sharp angles, now standing in sharp relief against their desperate flight. They ran past faded murals that told tales of valor, but now seemed stifled by the harsh reality of her predicament. Mateo suddenly halted, pulling Caliph into a dimly lit alcove, his breath heavy. They pressed against the rough stone, barely able to hear their own rapid heartbeats over the throbbing silence. "We need to hide," he panted, scanning the alley for any signs of their pursuers. Caliph could hardly contain the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her: fear, exhilaration, and an undercurrent of hope. "What now?" she whispered, her heart still racing. Mateo's gaze softened as he took a moment to catch his breath. "We find a way to safety, somewhere where they can't catch us." His eyes locked onto hers, the depth of his sincerity sending a shiver down her spine. "I won't let them harm you." A flash of memories washed over her, collisions of laughter, shared secrets, and stolen glances. How could a bond form so deeply in such a brief time? Yet, here they were, their fates intertwined, brought together by the very defiance that had condemned her. "Do you have a plan?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper over the hum of the city. Mateo shook his head, frustration flickering across his features. "No," he admitted, the vulnerability in his tone catching her off guard. "But I know a place. It's risky, but we might find shelter there." "Lead the way," Caliph urged, her mind clear in the face of danger. She felt an unquenchable determination rising within her, a bond forming with Mateo that defied their circumstances. Echoes of her past life faded as the pull toward this new path became irresistible. They emerged again into the shadows, navigating through a maze of backstreets. Mateo held her hand tightly, as if anchoring her to the present. They dodged voices and watched the bustling city's life continue around them, unaware of the peril hanging over them like a shadow. Finally, they arrived at a forgotten door, half hidden behind vines and rubble. It was a building that had long since surrendered to time, an abandoned rebel haven from years past. Mateo pushed the door open, revealing a dark, dust-laden room that smelled of age and secrets. "We can rest here," he said, stepping inside and glancing back to ensure they weren't followed. Caliph stepped in behind him, the sense of decay contrasting sharply with the vibrant life outside. As he lit a small, flickering lamp, the dim glow cast eerie shadows along the walls, revealing faded murals of rebellion and unity. Caliph felt both inspired and heavy-hearted. These symbols of hope seemed to beckon echoes of a fight long abandoned. "Is this where they plan to resist?" Caliph asked, brushing her fingers over one of the murals. "Yeah," Mateo replied, his voice softening. "But they got crushed. I'd heard the stories before I came here. The Council's grip is strong." She turned to him then, the weight of their shared fear shifting to a bond of understanding. "Thank you for saving me," Caliph said softly, her heart swelling with gratitude. "You put yourself in danger for me. I couldn't stand by and let them hurt you." He interrupted, stepping closer. "I won't abandon you. I refuse to let your life be defined by their hatred." A silence fell between them, thick with unspoken emotions. Caliph met his gaze, feeling the magnetic pull between them. "What happens now?" Mateo took a deep breath. "We need to give you a chance at freedom. I want to help you escape their grasp forever." The resolve in his voice fanned the flames of her rebellious spirit. "Then we will fight. They may have the power now, but I won't let them take away my choice or my love." A flicker of something ignited in Mateo's eyes, a shared understanding, as though both of them recognized the weight of their words. Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside, shattering the moment and sending a jolt of reality through them. They exchanged fearful glances. The guards were close. "We have to move," Mateo urged. The urgency in his voice grounded her. They quickly sought a back exit to the haven, preparing to confront whatever awaited them in the depths of a city that had branded her a sinner but was now the backdrop for her fight for freedom. The air was thick with tension as Caliph and Mateo slipped out the back exit of the old rebel haven. The faint glow of the lamp behind them dimmed, swallowed by the encroaching shadows of the alley. They moved quickly and quietly, their senses heightened to the slightest sound. Each creak of the dilapidated building and every distant shout from the city echoed ominously in the tight confines of the alley. "We need to find a way out of the city," Mateo whispered, urgency lacing his tone. "There's a transport hub just a couple of streets over. If we can reach it, we can get off-world." Caliph nodded, her heart racing not just from their narrow escape, but from the raw emotions surging inside her. "What about the guards? They'll be searching everywhere. They won't expect us to head for the transport hub. We can blend in with the crowd." Mateo glanced back toward the sounds of chaos echoing from the square, where cries for order rang out like thunder, flames flickering in the distance. They hastened down the narrow pathway, emerging into a cramped side street bustling with alien life. Brightly colored stalls lined the street, selling everything from exotic fruits to shimmering fabrics, a stark contrast to the peril of their situation. The vibrant sights and sounds momentarily overwhelmed Caliph, a reminder of a life she might never experience again. "Eyes on me," Mateo murmured, pulling her gently to guide her through the crowd. He moved as if he belonged there, his demeanor projecting confidence and calm. Caliph followed closely, matching his pace and trying to mimic his concealed determination. As they weaved through the throng, Caliph felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She was alive, but her heart was still tethered to the fate of her society. She'd never imagined that she would find herself in such a role, running for her life, with a human by her side. Suddenly, Caliph spotted a familiar face within the crowd. It was Liera, a childhood friend with whom she'd shared countless dreams of freedom. But in the shadows of the moment, Liera wore an expression that soured the sweetness of nostalgia. Her eyes widened in shock, followed by a flash of pity as their gazes locked. "Caliph," Liera's voice cut through the noise, barely a whisper. "You can't be here." Caliph's heart sank. "Liera, go. They're looking for you." Liera urgently motioned toward the back of the market. "You won't be safe if they see you with him. The council, they won't stop until they find you." "Thank you," Caliph managed, sensing the enormity of their goodbye. Before she could say more, Mateo pulled her away, their escape taking precedence. They plunged deeper into the crowd, her friend's worried look seared into her memory. The prospect of leaving everything she had ever known behind was becoming more real with each hurried step. Finally, they emerged onto a wider thoroughfare, where the bustle of the transport hub loomed ahead like an oasis. Bright lights flickered above, illuminating the bustling scene as various beings hurried about, announcing departures and arrivals in numerous languages. A vast array of pathways led to spacecraft of all shapes and sizes, each promising a potential escape from the life Caliph knew. There, Mateo pointed toward a boarding platform for an interstellar transport. It was scheduled to leave soon, and passengers were already beginning to queue. They pushed forward into the crowd, Caliph's pulse quickening with each step. Closer now, she could see the boarding ramp leading to the sleek ship. Betrayal and fear collided within her. The reality of abandoning her home was daunting. "Stay close," Mateo urged, pulling her alongside him. As they approached the boarding area, a sudden shout rang out from behind them. "There they are!" Panic flooded Caliph's veins. She turned just in time to see a group of guards pushing through the crowd, their faces twisted with determination. Mateo's grip tightened on her wrist, his eyes wide with alarm. "Run!" he shouted, and they bolted forward, sprinting toward the ramp of the ship. Caliph's feet pounded against the metallic ground, her resolve igniting as the guards shouted behind them. A moment before they reached the ramp, Mateo tripped slightly, throwing off his momentum. Caliph felt a shift and fear gripped her. "Mateo, I'm fine. Just go," he insisted, pushing her toward the ship. She hesitated, torn between following his command or helping him up. But the guards were too close. "We have to go together." "Now," he roared, an edge of desperation tangled with urgency. Caliph's heart ached as she felt his grip on her slip, but instinct took over. With a burst of adrenaline, she lunged forward, darting up the ramp just as Matteo propelled himself up behind her. They stumbled inside the ship as the doors began to seal shut, the sound echoing like a thunderclap of their desperate luck. "Go! Take off!" Matteo shouted at the pilot, who seemed perplexed but nodded to the controls with urgency. As the engines roared to life, Caliph turned to look back outside. She could see the faces of the guards, their expressions twisting with rage as they thumped against the closing door. The ship vibrated as it lifted off, accelerating away from the city that loomed beneath them, a city that had not only branded her a sinner, but had now sparked a resistance deep within her. Matteo collapsed into a seat near her, panting and wild-eyed. "We did it!" he gasped, relief flooding his expression. But Caliph could only stare out the viewport, the planet shrinking beneath them. "I left everything behind," she whispered, the weight of her choices beginning to settle in. "It wasn't a life you could live." Matteo replied softly, moving to sit beside her. "You're free now. We're free." His words hung in the air, a fragile truth that buoyed her spirit ever so slightly. Maybe they could build something new. Maybe love could truly conquer the barriers of their worlds. But as the ship soared into the vastness of space, Caliph couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of their journey. A journey that came with its own set of challenges, fears, and the inescapable echoes of their origin. As the ship soared through the cold abyss of space, Caliph felt both the thrill of freedom and the weight of uncertainty pressing down upon her. The distant stars gleamed like diamonds scattered across black velvet, twinkling against the profound void. Mankind had always sought the stars, and now, here she was, an alien escaping her world alongside the human who had become her unexpected savior and lover. But freedom came at a price. Caliph's heart ached for her home, her family, and everything she was forced to abandon. There was warmth in the memories, laughter shared with friends, and dreams spoken under the light of her planet's twin suns. But with the thought of those memories, she found herself shoved into a mental battle between longing and survival. Matteo sat at the control panel, focusing on the navigational readouts with a furrowed brow. The ship's metallic hum surrounded them, an oddly comforting melody amidst the chaos of their recent escape. "We're heading for a nearby moon," he said, breaking the silence. "It has a small settlement where we can lay low." "Will it be safe?" Caliph asked, still gazing out at the stars. The void felt endless, and the possibilities filled her with both hope and worry. "It should be," he replied, offering a fleeting smile. "This isn't our first run with rebels. Nobody will be looking for us there. But we need to change our appearances. It's risky to draw attention to ourselves." Caliph nodded, the gravity of their situation settling in. "I can change my features," she offered, a glimmer of excitement sparking within her. "I know how. It's a selective camouflaging technique we use on my planet to blend in with surroundings." Matteo turned to her, intrigued. "You can disguise yourself? That's incredible." "It takes concentration," Caliph explained, "and a bit of time." She took a deep breath, the possibilities swirling in her mind. "But I can make it work." "Let's do it," Matteo encouraged, his eyes shining with admiration. "We'll need every advantage we can get." As she prepared for the transformation, Caliph closed her eyes, envisioning the essence of her new form. With concentrated effort, energy surged within her, wrapping around her body like a warm embrace. A subtle glow enveloped her, and she began to feel her features shift and reshape. She let the energy flow through her, merging her original form with the subtle elements of a human. Minutes later, Matteo glanced over, his expression shifting from confusion to awe. "Whoa," he breathed, taking a step back. Caliph opened her eyes to meet his gaze. Sky blue hair framed her face, and her skin took on a paler tone, mimicking the humans around her. She looked into the reflective surface of a nearby panel, her alien features replaced with a visage that could slide into anonymity among humans. "It's stunning," Matteo said, a smile breaking across his face. "You look perfect for this world. Now it's your turn." Caliph's heart raced at the thought. While she had trained her entire life for this, transforming her appearance was natural for her. Matteo had never faced anything like it. Matteo chuckled, his confidence unwavering. "What do you have in mind?" Caliph concentrated once more, harnessing her energy. "I can't change you as dramatically, but I can enhance your features, darken your hair, add a bit of color to your skin, just enough to help you blend in." As she focused, her hands glowed softly and reached toward him, gentle tendrils of energy swirling around his face like silk ribbons. Mateo closed his eyes, and she could feel his trust radiating toward her. With every thought and intention, she manipulated his image. His hair deepened to a rich chestnut, and his skin took on a sun-kissed bronze. Moments later, she stepped back to admire her work. "Wow," Mateo marveled, running a hand through his darker hair. "I look different." "Different is good," Caliph said, grinning. "We're both different now. Together, we can create a new identity." Just then, the ship's forecast alarm rang loudly, pulling their attention back to reality. "We're entering the moon's atmosphere," Mateo announced, gripping the controls tightly. "Prepare for landing." Caliph rushed to steady herself, heart racing once more, not only from the thrill of the descent but from an overlay of uncertainty hanging heavy in the air. Would they really find refuge? Would the villagers accept them? Or would they simply be welcomed with suspicion? As the ship buckled slightly under atmospheric pressure, the ground came into view. The moon's surface was rocky and gray, a stark contrast to the vibrant dreams she held in her heart. The dark shadows stretched across the terrain, offering both concealment and its own set of dangers. The ship landed with a thud. The vibrations echoed around them like a lifeline thrown to the sea. Caliph took a deep breath, focusing on the new environment around them, attempting to quell the tide of anxiety threatening to overwhelm her. "Ready?" Mateo asked, turning to face her. "For whatever comes next," she replied, forcing a smile through her uncertainty. They stepped out of the ship, the cool air wrapping around them like a blanket. The quiet settlement ahead appeared run down, but had an air of resilience, some structures still standing tall while others crumbled. Flickering lights illuminated small pathways leading to makeshift homes where people lived their lives in obscurity or rebellion against the world that suppressed them. Mateo turned to her, determination locked in his gaze. "Let's find shelter, and then we'll figure out our next move." Caliph nodded, but her heart danced somewhere between fear and hope. With each step, she was reminded that this was just the dawn of a new chapter, a chapter that would require strength and unity to navigate the uncertainties ahead. Together, they would carve out a life that defied the confines of a society that sought to destroy them. As they made their way deeper into the settlement, Caliph felt the pulse of the unknown resonating through her veins, intertwining with Mateo's energy beside her. Nothing was certain, but in that moment, they had each other. The settlement felt alive as Caliph and Mateo navigated its narrow, winding paths. The ground beneath their feet was rough and uneven, while the sounds of daily life buzzed around them. Voices mingled with laughter and shouts, faint melodies from an unseen source interspersed with the occasional creak of an old structure. Caliph glanced around, her senses heightened. This place, though simple in its design, held a sense of community. Sparsely decorated homes bore unique insignias carved into their walls, each symbol telling the story of the families that lived within. Hesitant smiles greeted them from a few villagers as they walked by, a mix of curiosity and wariness shining in their eyes. "Do you think they'll be accepting?" Caliph whispered, her heart thumping against her ribcage. She instinctively wrapped her arms around herself, cloaking her nervousness. Mateo looked down at her, his expression steadying her fears. "I hope so, but we need to tread carefully. No one wants to draw attention to those who are different." She nodded, feeling her courage waver as they bumped against the pulsating life of the settlement. "I didn't think I would ever become a stranger in my own universe." "Neither did I," Mateo said softly. "But strangers can be allies." They continued forward, glancing into small shops offering handmade goods, food stalls emitting tantalizing aromas, and children darting playfully through the streets. It was a stark contrast to the rigid environment from which they had escaped. At the center of the settlement, they stumbled upon a communal square bustling with activity. Villagers gathered around, engaged in animated discussions or passing around small crates of produce. A sense of camaraderie filled the air, and for the first time since their escape, a flicker of hope ignited within Caliph. "Let's find a place to talk," Mateo suggested, scanning the area. "We should figure out our next steps without attracting too much attention." They stepped toward a small stall filled with vibrant fruits and vegetables that looked as foreign to Mateo as they did familiar to Caliph. The vendor, an older alien with deep-set, wise eyes and a face adorned with intricate markings, caught their gaze. "Welcome," the vendor greeted, his voice friendly and warm. "What can I offer you?" Mateo hesitated but decided to approach. "We're new here, recently arrived." The vendor's expression softened with understanding. "Ah, weary travelers seeking refuge? You're not the first. This settlement has seen its share of runaways." He gestured toward a bowl of fresh fruits, their colors bright and inviting. "Take what you wish. Here, we share what we have." "Are you sure?" Caliph asked, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We don't want to impose." "Nonsense," the vendor chuckled softly. "It's the least I can do for those who dare to escape oppression. Your story is not unique." They exchanged thankful glances, their wariness easing. Caliph reached for a small, vibrant fruit resembling a star, its skin glowing faintly in her hands. "Thank you," she whispered, appreciating the vendor's kindness. "Find solace, and maybe we can discuss how we can help you," the vendor suggested, eyes bright with compassion. Before they could respond, another voice cut through the gathering. "Who goes there?" They turned to find a guard-like figure watching them with suspicion, his stance rigid. He was a burly alien with sharp features and an air that beckoned authority. Mateo instinctively stepped closer to Caliph, as if shielding her from potential danger. "Just passing through," Mateo replied cautiously, putting his hands up slightly. "Passing through? You don't belong here," the guard grunted, his eyes scanning the two of them. "You bear no markings of our kind." Caliph tensed, panic rising within her. She felt exposed, her past threatening to unravel before her. "Let me handle this," Mateo murmured, turning his focus back to the guard. "We're simply searching for a place to rest, as the vendor stated. We come in peace." "Peace," the guard scoffed, stepping closer. "Strangers always bring trouble." Caliph's heart raced. A pit of despair began to form in her stomach. "No," she blurted out before she could stop herself. "We mean no harm." Silence," the guard barked, raising a hand as if to physically silence her. In that instant, the old vendor interjected. "Enough, Darsak. These travelers are not here to threaten us. They've escaped from tyranny. We should be offering them our support." The guard hesitated, skepticism filling his gaze as he glanced between Caliph and Mateo. "You expect me to trust them? They could be spies, looking to track us down. You should trust your instincts. Look at them," the vendor pressed, casting a meaningful glance over Caliph. "There's fear in their eyes, not malice." Eventually, Darsak seemed to relent, though his posture remained tight. "Fine, but if I find that you're hiding something," the threat lingered heavily. "We promise," Mateo replied earnestly, meeting Darsak's glare without flinching. "We're seeking refuge." As the guard walked away, Caliph let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "That was close," she said, her voice shaky. "Too close," Mateo agreed, glancing around to ensure they were not drawing unwanted attention. The vendor chuckled softly, calming the tense exchange. "Do not worry. There are those who will understand your plight. Just stay away from those who seek to control." "Thank you for standing up for us," Caliph said earnestly, her sense of gratitude flooding over. "Hope is all we have," the vendor replied with a knowing smile. "Let me speak to the council. I believe we can offer you a more secure place." As the vendor walked away, Caliph turned to Mateo, their eyes reflecting the whirlpool of emotions swirling inside them. "Is this truly going to work? Can we find safety here?" Mateo wrapped an arm around her shoulders, grounding her spiraling anxiety. "We have to believe it will. This community looks strong. We just need their trust." "Yes, their trust," Caliph echoed, the meaning of those words resonating within her. "And perhaps we'll find the strength in numbers as we craft our new lives together." With newfound determination, they settled against the wall of the stall, waiting for the vendor to return. The warmth of the settlement pulsed around them, and for the first time since their escape, Caliph felt like maybe, in a world painted with uncertainty, she could truly find a new sense of belonging. The minutes ticked by as Caliph and Mateo waited for the vendor's return, the uncertainty in the air thickening. But within that weightiness, a flicker of hope remained, lighting the dark corners of Caliph's mind. She had fled one life, but she might be on the brink of something extraordinary. Finally, the vendor returned, flanked by two other villagers, one a tall, lean alien with vibrant tattoos across his arms, and the other a stout figure with kind eyes, softened by age. The collective gaze of the three newcomers bore a sense of expectation that sent a ripple of unease through Caliph. "Meet the council," the vendor announced, gesturing toward the newcomers. "They're here to assess your situation and decide how we can help." "Thank you," Mateo said, stepping forward with determination. "We're grateful for any assistance you can provide." The elder member of the council nodded slowly, his eyes scanning both Caliph and Mateo. "We have heard tales of those escaping the tyranny of higher powers," he began, his voice deep and wise. "Your plight is not lost on us. The world you hail from has inflicted pain upon many, not just your kind," the tattooed alien added, his tone solemn. "Forgive us for being wary. Trust is not easily given." Caliph stood taller, drawing on her own resolve. "We understand. We're willing to prove ourselves, to show you we seek only sanctuary and community." A tense silence lingered, and Caliph held her breath, feeling the weight of every exchanged glance among the council members. Then, at last, the elder spoke again. "Let us hear your story. Tell us who you are and what you seek." Mateo stepped forward, beginning their tale. He explained how their worlds had collided, how love had blossomed in the most unexpected of places, but ultimately how the threat of oppression had forced them into each other's arms in a desperate bid for survival. As he spoke, the atmosphere in the square shifted. People gathered closer, drawn in by the urgency of their narrative, listening intently as hope and fear blended into a singular tale. Caliph felt their connection, the shared understanding of hardship and the unyielding desire for freedom resonated deeply with them. When their story concluded, silence enveloped the space. Finally, the elder smiled gently. "Your bravery is commendable. You have faced darkness and emerged seeking light. We will help you, but know that such assistance comes with responsibility." "Anything," Caliph replied with a newfound fierceness, meeting their gazes without hesitation. "We wish to contribute. We can learn, work, and treat this place as our new home. We'll require your skills and knowledge, especially given your unique backgrounds," the tattooed alien said, nodding thoughtfully. "In return, we'll offer protection and the chance to build anew. Together, we will strengthen this community." Hope surged within Caliph, and she exchanged a glance with Mateo. In that moment, they felt the weight of an unspoken promise, the promise of new beginnings woven together with the fabric of resilience. Days turned into weeks as they settled into their new lives within the settlement. Caliph and Mateo lent their skills to the community, sharing knowledge of each other's worlds. Caliph taught those willing to learn about the concept of unity through empathy, drawing connections between their cultures. Mateo engaged with advancements from Earth, implementing simple technologies that improved daily life, establishing sustainable practices, and even opening a library filled with information that connected them to a larger universe. With every passing day, they forged relationships as friendships blossomed around them. The village that once felt foreign began to feel like home. Caliph and Mateo soon became symbols of hope and change, paving the way for deeper connections among the village's diverse inhabitants. Yet, despite the tranquility and warmth that grew within the settlement, echoes of her past still lurked in Caliph's mind. The remnants of fear haunted her dreams. The memories of being branded a sinner and condemned for love weighed heavily. But each day she spent in the moonlight with Mateo, surrounded by newfound friends, gradually burned away the shadows that threatened to consume her. One evening, as they stood hand in hand atop a hill overlooking the settlement, Caliph felt a profound sense of accomplishment wash over her. The twin moons glimmered overhead, their light cascading down like soft whispers of reassurance. Free from oppression, Caliph took a deep breath, inhaling the freshness of newfound hope. Mateo turned to her, a soft smile stretching across his face. "We did it," he murmured, a hint of disbelief lacing his voice. "Yes, we did," she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Together, we changed our fate." In that moment, the stars above seemed to shimmer more brightly, echoing the two souls who had forged their own path among the universe. As they embraced, Caliph reveled in the power of love, the power to ignite change, to transcend boundaries, and to move towards a future illuminated by freedom. Together, they stepped forward into their new reality, ready to explore the endless possibilities the cosmos had to offer. They were no longer marked by their past, but emboldened by their shared vision, a vision of unity where love and hope could thrive unbounded among the stars.